Good evening. Lockdown number 3. I didn't think I would be having to do a third set of videos. Anyway, here we are. I did promise that I would, and I will, and I'll probably do one every week from now on. If I can find enough material, you see, because when one can't go out anywhere, one isn't getting the same amount of, stories, because he can't be so nosy. And that's how I come about my stories, because when you're nosy, you see, listening to other folks' conversations, and that's how you get to know. Well, I hope you're all managing with this lockdown this time, because I think it's a little bit more severe than the last one, although I had a funeral yesterday up Billsdale, and by gum, there was a lot of folks coming to see what snow was like. You'd almost think they'd never seen snow before. It baffles me. It really does, because you'd think we'd never had snow. And we've been having snow for years and years and years and generations, but every time there comes some snow, what's going on? You would think, A, we can't see it snowing. You would think, B, world's going to end. You would think, C, nobody can go out because nobody can possibly walk in it. And then when you do go out, there's all these folks coming from all over just to look at it. Well, I can tell you what it is. It's an inconvenience and it's a bloody nuisance. And that's what I think of snow. Anyway, less of that. I shall get my politics head on, and then we shall be off on one. And all day it'll be take a carry on. Anyway, it came to my attention because, you see, obviously when I got married in the August, you couldn't have 30 guests, but now you can know but a 6. So there would been a wedding out to the week down at our local church, and they'd had a very small reception afterwards. They shouldn't have done, but they did. And it was on their own land, in their own field, so they weren't really hating anybody, and everybody was sat socially distant. There was no but 6 of them anyway. Anyway, I stood up that young lad, he'd just gotten married, and from a farming family, and he'd just gotten his son married to a grand lass. And he knocked up table, and he said, I'd just like to say a few words. And everybody there was astounded, because he didn't usually say much at all. He said, I just want to say this. He said, my new missus, she's just right. Because he said, if she'd been any better, I shouldn't have gotten her. If she'd been any worse, I shouldn't have had her. So he says, all I can say is, she's just right. I don't know whether they were at divorce courts next week or whether they were at divorce courts this week. But anyway, by the by, same as I was talking to little lad down the road to the day, he's getting a dog. I said, by God, I says, he's a grand dog. He says, this is the thing, so Mr. Collier. I says, I do. I said, by gum, I says, he's a good shiny coat. I said, he's got a nice wet nose. I said, he's alert, and I said, there's a good eye on him. I said, what sort of dog is he? He says, I'll tell you what breed he is, Mr. Collier. He says, he's a black Labrador. I said, a black Labrador? He says, aye, black Labrador. I says, oh, yes, you mean a black Labrador? He says, aye, that's what I said, Mr. Collier, a black Labrador. I said, oh. So I let him go on his way with his black Labrador. Poor little lad, the kind of little lad, he only lives down the road. Now, going back a lot of years, everything now is cars and wagons and motor vehicles and however else you want to get it to and fro. I mean, a lot of it used to be train, and I think some of it still is. So that tunnel, what goes to France. I'll tell you what they should have done with that tunnel that goes to France, start of all this. They should have concreted bugger in. That's what they should have done. Anyway, I think going into politics. But a lot of stuff used to go by train, and a lot of stuff used to go be rail and road, but before that was horse and cart. No, you had to make sure you had a good horse if she was pulling a little ruly. Anyway, everything at farms was done by horses, which we know, which are horses, and everything was led away with horse and cart. No, yard farmer was lading a great load of grain. in this great big cart he had and pulled by 2 shire horses. And farm lad that helped him was walking alongside of him. All of a sudden, what they called in them days a peffing torture, instrument of torture that used to peff as it went along, which was a motorbike. And this motorbike came along. They only used to go about 15 miles an hour, but they used to peff and go on, smoke coming out the back of it. Well, it flared these horses. But they'd never been so flared. They went straight up the air and they kicked and they bunched and they kicked and they bunched and horses went up and Todd cart went over and everything it cart was in the pit floor. The young lad was laking at it and he got the horses tethered up to the fence and the cart was on its upside down and a load of grain out of the cart was in the middle of the road in a great heap and oh dear me, he was having a going on. He was scratching his head with his flat cap and thought, oh God. I don't know what Mr. Richardson's going to say. I don't know what Mr. Richardson's going to say at all. Anyway, neighbouring farmer came down the field because he'd heard commotion. And he looked at the young lad and he says, what's the day? And he says, oh, she says, one of them puffing motorbikes he's come past. He said, Todd says he's gone up, Lair's gone out. And oh, he says, I don't know what Mr. Richardson's going to say. Todd farmer from next door says, come on lad. He says, look, we can't dare note right now. He says, we'll go back to the farm, we'll get my horse and cart and we'll get some shovels and we'll see what we can do. But he says, Mr. Richardson won't be very happy to know. He says, oh, there's nothing to do about it. Don't worry about it. We'll tell him what's going on. He says, but he isn't going to be happy to know. He isn't going to be very pleased at all, Mr. Richardson. He says, come on up to the farm. We'll have a bit of loans and a cup of tea, and then we'll come back down and sort it out. He says, but he says, Mr. Richardson isn't going to be all happy to know. He says, well, don't worry about him, no. Let's get back up to the farm. So they went up to the farm, they were sat around the table and she cut some bread and she buttered it and put some jam on and tea was poured out and he kept saying, Mr. Richardson isn't going to be very happy with me. He ain't going to be very happy with me at all. And they kept telling him not to worry about it. And anyway, they were there an hour and he kept saying, Mr. Richardson isn't going to be very happy with me at all. And it finished, Todd farmer's wife. She said, I'm sick as hell though, crowing on and chowing on about Mr. Richardson isn't going to be very happy. She said, why the hell is Mr. Richardson? He said, only unload of grain in middle of the road. So that's why Mr. Richardson wasn't going to be very happy. You know, Todd farmer came out of Fandle one day. They only came out once a week. Years gone by. They didn't go very far. Came out of Fandle. He was coming down to Kirby. Do a few errands while he was doing. Anyway, I was wandering up Kirby and he was getting one or two things sorted out and he said a friend of his, he hadn't seen him for a long time. They were stopped in the middle of the marketplace having a wad. And they were past the time of day and they were asking each other how they were both going on. And Todd farmer for Fandle says, how's the missus? He says, sure, it, that Maud. His friend says, why? He says, she isn't this the now. She says, she ain't no good. He says, she's not so good at all. He says, she ain't no fit. Oh, Todd farmer says, well, he says, I'm sorry. He says, if I'd known, I shouldn't have asked. Oh, I said, don't worry about it. He says, Todd farmer says, what's up with her? He says, between down me and nobody else, she's got chronic constipation. Todd farmer says, I beg your pardon. He says, she's got chronic constipation. She goes down to the privy at bottom of the garden and she's there for hours. And hours. Chronic constipation, farmer said. Aye, his friend said. But, God. Has she taken out the nose? Oh, yes, his mate said. Yes, oh, aye, she's taken, yes, aye. She always takes the Yorkshire post and her knitting with her. Anyway, saying more on that front. Oh dear me. I shall have to stop, ladies and gentlemen, because time's going on. I aren't doing a poem or anything this week. I just was going to tell you some stories. If there's any stories I've told before and you want to hear them again, let me know. I'm sure some of you will have seen my little write-up that was in the Yorkshire Post this week. But it was card when he took them photographs. God, it was card. But it was very nice. It's been very nice to be recognised for what I've done for all you people out there. I know you tell me when you see me, and people write to me, and people send me cards, and people comment, and people say I've cheered people up, I've saved people from going into slums of depression. One lady said to me that her dad likes to listen to him because he likes to listen to dialect, and some sad people even play him hour and hour again. That's not healthy. Playing him hour and hour again, it's not good for you. But just to finish with, it's Sunday, so I thought, well, I might as well just you know, a bit of religion. Todd Vicar was preaching his sermon Sunday morning to congregation president, and he says, you know, he said, brothers and sisters in Christ, he says, there is a sermon in every blade of grass. Every blade of grass, there is a sermon. Anyway, Saturday after, he was cutting his grass, and one of the Todd farmers went past that was his parishioner. And he took his cap off and he went to the garden gate, and Todd Vicar stopped cutting grass. He says, are you all right? He says, that's all right, Vicar. He says, that's just bloody pleased. He said, I was finally cutting this sermon short because he was cutting grass. But that's as far as we go. Anyway, no, all behave yourself. All be good. And only go out if you want to go out. And well, I don't really know what rules and regulations is and what rules and regulations aren't. I mean, hell, behold, you can't do this, you can't do that, and you can't do it to other, but they can run around a football field on a Saturday afternoon at Premiership and like football. And spit and goz all over each other and push and tumble and carry on. Well, I ain't been one for all this carry on. I mean, I had decided to the way that we should maybe have funerals in football grounds because you could have 2,000 people there. But anyway, that went by the by. So maybe this is another day. But anyway, don't get me started. You know what happens when I get started. Take care all and you. God bless. See you later.